Rivers do not drink their own water. Trees do not eat their own fruit. The sun does not shine on itself, and flowers do not spread their fragrance for themselves. Living for others is a rule of nature. We are all born to help each other. No matter how difficult it is, life is good when you are happy, but much better when others are happy because of you.
Good afternoon, viewers. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, all over Africa. Thank you very much. This is Punchline Africa Television. The show is Africa Watch. In this Africa Watch, we shall be looking at Libya and the DRC Congo. We are trying to compare the two war or conflicts that have taken some time on the continent of Africa without a resolution. And it is true that the DRC conflict looks like going the way or hurtling towards the Libyan type of conflict. Is this what you think as an African? Get back to us, talk to us, have your say in this show. Come on the platform, tell us more. Are we moving towards the same problem that DRC Congo is going to face? Libya has faced it under Resolution 1970 of the United Nations Security Council that enabled France to drop the first bombs on the Libyan territory. With me this afternoon is my co-host in Nairobi, Kenya, Miriam Ogutu. Good afternoon, Miriam.
A very good afternoon to you, and good afternoon to our viewers. Good morning, good evening, depending on where they are watching us from. Today being the 12th of February 2022.
Thank you very much, Miriam. First of all, before we begin on this topic, this is an interesting topic. Pick your pen, get your pen, paper, write down the notes. We are going to be as frank as we are. As you see me, I'll be telling the truth. And there are people on the African continent, Miriam, who are fearing my truth. No, don't fear my truth. Don't call me a busybody. Just listen to us. We are not busybody. We have been here before you. So we know when conflicts are going to be worse, we understand it. This conflict of DRC Congo seems, and it is going to spiral, hurtle towards the Libyan type, because African Union, because the African heads of state, because the actors are not the same. Miriam, let's do house cleaning right now in Nairobi, Kenya. Right now from London, it is exactly 11:22 minutes past 11 o'clock here in the capital city of English. Good morning.
Very well. Here is just a quick look at some of the headlines across the continent of Africa today. We start with the newspapers from Kenya. The Sunday Standard, inside Ruto's war in ODM and Jubilee, life after high office, Uhuru's new address, and touching tributes as Kenya bids farewell to Magoha. Merali's $1 payoff for heirs who contest will. That's what we have there. And then the Sunday Nation. Uhuru's shocker, Jubilee turmoil in meeting with close political allies, and angry Kenyatta declares purge on party MPs and officials who have declared support for President Ruto's Kenya Kwanza alliance. You'll find that on page 4. Cuban doctors who get paid millions for doing zero work. That is also there. And return of yellow maize. Millers petition President Ruto to approve regulation allowing human consumption of the grain currently used for baking animal feeds to address biting shortage. And then the main pictorial down there, casket carrying the remains of former Education CS George Magoha at the funeral ceremony at Odera Akango's college grounds in Yala in Siaya County yesterday. And in other newspapers, City Press from South Africa, ANC rift over EFF coalition. The Citizen from Tanzania, SIM card fraud, hotspots exposed. And then the Daily News from Zimbabwe, prepare for poll not talks, Zimbabwe told. The Sunday Mail, ZACC targets $1 billion ill-gotten assets. That I think the Zimbabwean asset something, I think from Zimbabwe. And also Sunday Vision from Uganda, malpractice UNEB to quiz 4,000 students. And then Harvest Money Expo launched, hundreds attend. The Sunday Monitor from Uganda report, gay activities must be criminalized. All right, and then the Sunday Punch from Nigeria, CBN, top officials meet on Monday over Naira crisis. The Nation from Nigeria, financial experts, old and new Naira notes should coexist for now. And then Tinubu in Kebbi vows to boost agriculture, revive Agungu Fishing Festival. So that is what we have on some of the newspaper headlines from across the continent. Doc, back to you.
Miriam, thank you very much for the newspaper headlines. I don't have the English paper because they are on the phone right now. If you could do me a favor, I forgot to tell you that it is on the same system because of the network that I'm using. I'm not able to raise up the English newspaper headlines, but most of them are gloomy headlines talking about so many things that include divorce, prison sentences, and of course the high standard of living, the cost of living, the disappearance of some goods from the market. That is what the British newspapers, as I went through. That is all. If you can't get them, then I don't know. But if you have them, go ahead, please.
Okay. So the Independent, BBC boss in cash for Boris Rao, guilty of hiding his role, says inquiry. That is what we have there. The Sunday Express, James Bulger, killer must die in prison, says brother. The Sunday Telegraph, British weapons could be made in Ukraine. And the Mirror, I did cheat on Vanessa again and again. That is what one of the confessions we have there. So that is what we have on some of the newspapers there from United Kingdom. Very well. Go ahead. we can't hear you. You're muted.
Oh my God.
Good. Okay.
Thank you very much, Miriam, for the newspaper. Are you hearing me now properly?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much, viewers across the continents of Africa, of the continent of Africa and Europe, Asia, China, Russia, America, Australia. Thank you, all of you who are watching us live from the command center in London and in Nairobi headquarters. Ladies and gentlemen, viewers, the topic of the day is, as Miriam will introduce it, touches two countries, Libya and DRC Congo. Is the DRC conflict hurtling to the Libyan type of conflict? Are there similarities? Are there contradictions? Are they almost going the same route? The DRC conflict has been there since 1961. It has never ended. One government comes in, another government comes out, but still the conflict remains. Since the fall of Muammar Gaddafi in Libya, several things have happened. One, a lot of diplomacy has been in place to put the country into one nation. Is it the problem of IAU? Is it the problem of United Nations? Why then did we allow the United Nations resolution 1970 to dismember Libya? Why are there no efforts to make sure that Libya has one government, all of the people working, talking together, and redeveloping the country, which was once a developed state in Africa? When you come to the DRC Congo, the recent problems that we have seen on the peace process, the type of xenophobic attacks on peacekeepers, the Kenyan contingent that is in DRC Congo. I believe you have a clip there which I want to see played. That contingent, Medium, that clip is very much that the people look for it. It is on my phone. I sent it to Stephen, but it is there. The clip is doing a lot of rounds. Your technical department in Nairobi, from where they are, they can send it to you and play it. The hatred, the type of hatred that is being arranged against the Kenyan troops and the MONUSCO, or the UN peacekeeping force that has been in Congo for over 15 years, watching territory being taken, watching rebels being formed, watching formations, terrorists coming into Congo, ADF settling into Congo, ISIS settling into Congo. These are some of the things that worry any African who is watching me today with this conflict of DRC Congo, hurtle, or will it be hurtling like the one of Libya? In Libya, Muammar Gaddafi, on the footsteps of his state house before Libya was bombarded, told us in his speech that anybody can get, I don't need to repeat it here. He said, "You are killing me. You are destroying Libya. You are handing over Libya to the terrorists. But it will never be the same Libya." And the Libyans who cried and waved and celebrated the fall of Gaddafi today are paupers, eating from hand to mouth, at times even eating human beings. They have reached the stage of eating human beings because the food is missing. The type of torture that they have tortured the black Africans that have gone through because they want to pass through Libya to Mediterranean Sea, the treatment that they give looks like a carnival carnivorous type of people who could kill human beings, eat them. Muammar Gaddafi was telling us that the people taking over Libya are terrorists. But little known to us, to many people, at least for me, I knew. I stood firm. I wrote a letter which Jeff can bring out to the public. And I want that letter which I wrote to President Museveni. For the first time, we agreed with His Excellency President Museveni about Libya. That letter is very fundamental, Jeff. Always keep it to your chest. It is a letter that exonerates me, that tells you I was right. It is a letter that says Matanga was right. It is a letter that says I stood firm. I came and said this Libya will create a lot of problems in the Sahara region. The destruction of Libya, therefore, has created difficulties in the Sahara region. The ISIS has moved from Mali through the savannas and the desert of Sahara down into Burkina Faso, Guinea-Bissau, Cote d'Ivoire, Senegal, Nigeria, Boko Haram, Chad, and we are moving on to Sudan and to Egypt and the places where we never expected a war of ISIS. So, was it a mistake that up to today we have not been able to reconcile the two warring parties of Libya? Miriam, these are some of the things that I want us, you and I, to talk tonight, this morning, and tell the world. Let's have basic facts on logistics, the timings, the framework, the deadlines, what has happened. General Khalifa Haftar controls Benghazi. The Libyan so-called recognized AU and the UN government controls Tripoli. Is it a mistake of African Union? This week, African heads of state are going to be in the capital city of Addis Ababa. They will be flowing there with their jets, perfumes, good coats, good English, good French, good Portuguese, good Arabic. But will they come out when they have actually silenced the guns? Will they come out when they have got a solution for Libya? Will they come out when they have got a solution for Democratic Republic of Congo? Are we hurtling towards the same difficulties that we have had before? Yes.
Mm-hmm. All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Miriam, take us through
all right.
The basic.
Okay. So before I even get into that, I think we're also joined by Daniel Wasonga this afternoon. Daniel Wasonga, very good afternoon to you. Okay, so I think he's left the conversation. He's been trying to join. I think probably he's having a problem with his connection there. So many years after Muammar Gaddafi was removed from power, Libya continues to struggle to end its violent conflict and build state institutions. External actors have exacerbated Libya's problems by funneling money and weapons to proxies that have put personal interest above those of Libyan people. The UN efforts to broker a lasting peace have not yet succeeded, overshadowed by competing peace conferences sponsored by various foreign governments. Meanwhile, Libya's borders remain porous, particularly in the southern Fezzan, facilitating an increasing in trafficking and smuggling of illicit materials, including weapons, among other problems that have since erupted. And fast forward to the Democratic Republic of Congo, and the latest is that the chiefs from the East African Community member states have directed the immediate deployment of troops from countries yet to join the regional force in Goma, Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, and the military bosses who met in Nairobi last week in the presence of the EAC Secretariat followed the bloc's head of state's directive last week to have forces on the ground, but based on a timeline agreed upon by the chiefs. So even as we look at the perhaps the similarities of these two countries and the trajectory that both conflicts are taking, because Libya also is very unstable right now, and we all know that how DRC is. Doc, in Libya, we've seen a couple of perhaps meetings and proxies and how they're supporting the different sides of the conflict there. Would you say it is the same thing with what is happening in the Democratic Republic of Congo, where the same proxies are supporting the different sides, or the support is kind of different?
Miriam, it is not different at all. The support is not different at all. The support is the same. Look at the countries that are now coming into DRC Congo. France in Libya is supporting General Khalifa Haftar. France, Egypt, Abu Dhabi, Qatar, these countries have come. Turkey, they have all come. Turkey is on the other side of the United Nations backed government. Now, if you look at the problems that are going to come in the region, if we allow Qatar, for example, to get involved in the Congo conflict, we are going to have the same problem. We are going to have the problem that has been dragged in the Middle East. You know where Qatar goes. You know one state in the Middle East, where it will go. That state is Israel. You go that way, Israel goes that way. So, look, you see the problem that we have now. We have that serious problem of airlifting a problem from the Middle East and bringing it in the tropics of the forests of Congo. And for us in Congo, we are not secure. For example, us, we Ugandans, are not secure. And I'm entitled to talk as a Ugandan. Anybody telling me any nonsense is not a person that I will listen to. I'm entitled to talk as an African. I'm entitled to criticize as an African. We are going to be very bold and very bold and very bold to the people who want to threaten us. You don't know anything yet. You can't be telling people we should not talk about certain things. People who talk about the certain things just want allowances. We are not interested in allowances. We are interested in finishing the problems of the Democratic Republic of Congo. So if you import the Middle East style of peace negotiation and drop it into DRC Congo, we are bringing two sides that are going to be covert and overt operations.
Mm-hmm.
Both of these will be operating on this nation.
Mm-hmm.
So where shall we be? Where are we going to be? We in Uganda, we have ISIS. The ADF is operating in the forests. Is operating in the forests of the Democratic Republic of Congo. For many years, we have battled the ADF to remove it from the soil of the DRC Congo. The Congolese government itself and the previous governments, some of them are accused of having been behind the formation of some of the rebel groups. Congo itself has got 132 rebel groups sitting on the soil. So maybe I'm telling me, as a man who is a stranger, maybe I'm a stranger in conflict resolution school, that 132 rebel groups sitting on your territory, then you want to bring in an external operator who has never solved any war. Show me where Qatar has solved the war in the world. Show me. Show me where Qatar has solved the war in the world. Miriam, Qatar has never solved. Qatar is only used as a conduit of removing Taliban. Are you together? the Taliban who were killing people came to Qatar. America abandoned Afghanistan. Is that solving a war? We have. Are you listening to me? Miriam, do you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, because I wanted to just do a follow-up.
I am about to finish, then you can come in. So Qatar pretends to be the mediator, but I want to warn the people of Africa. If you look at Cape Delgado, Mozambique did not have rebels, did not have ISIS, did not have terrorists. Mozambique had Renamo, Chisano, and the late Kiplagat were very, very much involved in removing Renamo from the surface of the people of Mozambique. I was in Rome, St. Gidio, when we are hammering this agreement of the Renamo versus Frelimo. My dear, Cape Delgado today, go there and see who has taken over the oil regions. Qatar. Miriam, you have evidence there. They bought all the oil regions after Total Oil going there, creating chaos, creating terrorists, removing the local population, arming some terrorists. They disappeared. They have left the work to African Union, to Mr. Kagame, to be the one taking on to remove what is going on in Cape Delgado. Qatar has never solved any problem for me. If it has, maybe Miriam take it from there. I land my mind.
And I don't know, in this conflict in the DRC, was Qatar acting as a mediator, or Qatar was offering good offices in what is good offices in diplomacy? Of course, refers to a party just creating a space for others to come and talk out their issues, but it's not directly part of that mediation process. Was that what Qatar was doing, or Qatar was part of the mediation process?
If Qatar was, no, Miriam, what is it trying to do? What is it trying to do? You tell me. Opening offices and being on the sideline to do what? 7,000 kilometers away from your home. To do what? Sorry. 7,000 kilometers. What it's opening offices for what? For minerals. To buy coltan. To store up copper. Platinum, lithium, all these minerals that platinum, sodium, all these. Qatar is coming in to buy. But who is Qatar? I have told you the history of Qatar, that when you see Qatar, expect Total Oil. When you see Total Oil, you know Qatar is following. Can I give you another example where the two are working together? Isn't it? Are they not buying the? Haven't they sold the oil bridges in Cape Delgado, Miriam? They have. The minerals there, the oil bridges, the hot gas has been sold to Total Qatar, Total Oil. So you can tell me what wrong is there for us Africans? Where is AU? Another point that makes me very scared about Libya and comparing it to the way they are trying to do. The stakeholders, Miriam, in the Libyan territory are not sincere. The stakeholders or the key actors in the Libyan territory are not sincere. The key they are very, very abnormal people there. I'm telling you, my sister, very abnormal. And if you want to know how abnormal they are, try to see what they are doing in Libya. They have taken on Libya. They are drilling oil. They are taking oil illegally every evening. Miriam, I'm coming to talk on a phone which is audible. So thank you very much. You continue talking as I change my gadget.
All right. All right.
Continue talking.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so there was a meeting that was that was expected to happen in Doha in January. A meeting was to take place on January 23rd between the Congolese and the Rwandan president and President Felix Tshisekedi and Paul Kagame, but was called off after Congolese president pulled out. So, Felix Tshisekedi, the president of the DRC, pulled out of this meeting. And Qatar had been trying to organize a mediation between the two countries for weeks, especially if you know the background and the accusations and counter-accusations that has been, because the DRC has maintained that President Paul Kagame and Rwanda are the ones supporting the M23 rebels. And President Paul Kagame of Rwanda has always, insisted that that is not the case, despite of these numerous reports that have come out from the United States. Also have accused Rwanda. The United Nations also says they do have some very substantial evidence to support that claim, and other bodies that has really put Rwanda to be supporting this M23. Of course, Rwanda, as I've said there, has continued denied this claim. So Qatar had planned a diplomatic meeting in Doha, and I think Qatar, and outside of that meeting, Doc, as I bring you in, I see you back. When you look at the mediation processes, and there has been a couple of mediation processes on this conflict, maybe even as we draw parallel to what is happening in Libya. But there's been a number of mediation processes. We've seen the president of Angola, Lourenço, really trying a couple of times to also bring these two leaders together. And for a brief moment there, we thought maybe they were making some headways. So that did not hold. So Qatar maybe felt it was important for it also to join in the mediation and try to bring these two leaders together. And we know also our former president, Uhuru Kenyatta, also has been leading a huge chunk of that mediation with the rebels and these countries and all that. So when you look at all these mediation processes and how they have been going on, would you say the lack of maybe coordination in this process could be hampering any meaningful progress that maybe could have been made so far? Are they, from what we've been seeing happening, are they well coordinated, all these processes trying to solve this one problem? All right, you're not settled yet. Okay, all right, because I really want to get that, because we've seen the number of meetings that these two leaders have had in Angola. We've seen the number of meetings that the President Uhuru Kenyatta, former president of Kenya, has been having with the rebels and these warring groups, and just trying to, on behalf of the East African community, I think, and maybe on behalf of AU, Lourenço is doing that on behalf of AU, and we've been seeing how this mediation processes has been going on. But when you think they're making progress, they also, we see some steps back again. So I don't know, maybe because this process is not well coordinated, all these different parties that are trying, and now Qatar has joined in this mediation process. So I don't know what that will do. But of course that meeting didn't happen because President Paul, Felix Tshisekedi of Rwanda, of DRC, said he'll not be attending that meeting. And the cat and mouse that they have been playing, President Felix Tshisekedi and Rwanda's President Paul Kagame, of not wanting to be part of some of these meetings. For the last we've seen in the U.S. during the sidelines of the African leaders and the U.S. meeting that happened in December. They were meant to be meeting, and then, they're just playing cat and mouse, and they're not really willing to meet each other. And so there has been some level of what others will call a dishonest approach and a dishonest commitment from even the president of DRC to really see a solution for this. Doc, if you can hear me. Okay. They're fixing that. But my question was, from all these processes that
yeah. Do you hear me properly now?
I can hear you. My question was, we've seen a couple of all these mediation processes happening with different actors here and there to try and solve this one problem. Would you say they are coordinated? And if they're not, what is this doing in terms of hampering this mediation process as far as moving forward is concerned?
First of all, the mediation process of Democratic Republic of Congo goes in, out, back, left, in front. The former President Uhuru Kenyatta has been very steady, categorical, and he has made it very, very clear. The only way that Congo can have peace is all peace stakeholders to sit down and hammer out their differences. First, it was the Rwanda agreement, accord, did not involve the rebels of M23. That was a mistake. That was a mistake. Why the M23 rebels are not involved? Then you can't expect to solve this problem when the M23 rebels are not involved. They are the key players. They are the men who have the big guns. They change the big guns. They move the big guns. They are capturing territory. They have taken territory. They control territory. You need to talk to them. So when the Rwanda or Angola Peace Initiative agreement was signed, one group claimed to have not been part of it, but they went further to tell us in the world that they were going to do a peace process. They will honor the ceasefire. And they did not honor the ceasefire again. They blew up the ceasefire. They broke the norms of ceasefire. That's why you see they went on capturing cities, Miriam, near the Uganda border, Budagana, in North Kivu, in the South Kivu. This is where the fighting has been intense. And there is also one thing that we need to know. There are about 5 rebel groups, 5 within factions, commanding positions of the M23. They don't have a centralized command. And one of the things that people should know in the world, until you get the real commander, who is the real commander, Miriam? Who is the commanding the M23? Is it the men we see on TV, on platforms, on Twitter space, who come and tell you on your DM that we are so and so, but don't say so and so? We see them coming every day here. Now, if this is the case, the peace process cannot hold. It will go down the drain. Now, earlier on, before my telephone became uncoordinated, my link, you were asking a question whether Qatar has just opened an office to facilitate what? What is it facilitating, media? Is it facilitating what? Which East African community cannot facilitate?
Mm-hmm. But Doc, you remember the last time we had a meeting here headed by our former president Uhuru Kenyatta when the rebels had been invited in Nairobi, and there were some issues around payment. So perhaps that is when Qatar saw the opportunity for it to get itself in this mediation, maybe to fund part of that, because you remember some people were not paid, and President Uhuru Kenyatta raised that issue. So maybe there's not enough funds to fund this process, and Qatar now has seen an opportunity to come in.
Miriam, let me ask one thing. What are you saying? My sister, you are saying what? That the money, is it the money? Now, if we commercialize this conflict, if we start commercializing the conflict, surely, Miriam, we are going to end up in chaos. If the money is not there, then it will be like a South Sudan conflict, isn't it? Have you not seen what is in South Sudan? It's indeed the same way they conducted this, and they brought soldiers out of their area to containment areas, containment centers. Soldiers started running away from the containment centers, and they went back to arm themselves. And that's why you see the South Sudan peace is fragile. Now we are making the same mistake. Where is the money? International community should come in and fund the East African community-led initiative headed by Kenya and under the East African Community Secretariat, where President William Ruto of Kenya has appointed his predecessor and said, continue with the peace process. But if we now go and jump in and bring mercenaries, commercial mercenaries, I am not minute commercial. Qatar is a commercial mercenary country. It uses money to frustrate human rights around the world. So how are you going to bring in such a group? The Americans said they will fund this project to the end. Why are they not putting in the money? Where is the money for Warren Buffett? Warren Buffett said he will bring in money to stabilize the Congo. Now, Qatar has come in because France has told them to go in. France, as a former colonial master of this region, cannot show its face openly to us. So here we are. We stand at crossroads.
Mm-hmm. And the defense chiefs from the East African Community member states have directed the immediate deployment of troops from countries yet to join the regional force in Goma. As we know, some countries from the East African Community are reluctant to sending their troops. And so there was a call from the defense chiefs from the East African Community and the military bosses who met in Nairobi last week in the presence of the EAC Secretariat, followed the bloc's head of state's directive the other week to have forces on the ground, but based on a timeline agreed on by the security. So by additionally, if at all these countries agree, and others like Kenya and Uganda and others who already have their forces there, because since they've been there, me and the people of the DRC are asking what have they been doing. So adding more troops there, do you think this will make any difference in terms of even protecting the lives of the people there?
I think, Miriam, that adding more troops, more troops and more boots on the ground, if these troops change into a combat operation, not a peacekeeping operation. If it is a peacekeeping, we have failed. But if it is combat operation, I support. I'm being honest today. Have you ever heard me being candid like that? If it is peacekeeping, we have failed. For 15 years, MONUSCO has been in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Has there been peace? No. Why don't the UN force of 15,000 plus Kenyan force and the other East African community forces just go on combat? Finish it. Finish it. Casualties will be there, but let's finish it that way. Because the rebels are not talking the truth. Nobody in this conflict is telling the truth. The fighters are not telling the truth. The rebels themselves don't say who arms them. Someone is giving the rebels money. Somebody is funding the rebels. So who is killing who where must be decided on. The very serious must be decided. If the DRC Congo has a problem, it must be decided on DRC Congo base through either a full combat operation. The rebels, the soldiers go in, they take down the rebels, make them make them workable and are useless as a spent force. And then we hand over the powers to the Congolese administration. Another thing that I see which is going to happen, that when I compared this with I compared this with the peace process of the Libya. Is their intention is, Miriam, look at their intentions of dividing this country. And the people are not telling you the truth. Some people are quiet. Some people are not saying they want a chunk of Congo territory where minerals are. And that is a hidden agenda that is being brought in by forces that are not telling everybody the truth. Believe me or not, this is spiraling, hurtling towards the Libyan type of conflict that we see that is still in Libya, where Benghazi has a government, Tripoli has a government. The intention of whoever is planning this war of Congo, arming the rebels, has an intention of having 2 centers of power or 3 centers of power, one in Eastern Congo and another one in Western Congo in Kinshasa. Because Kinshasa itself, the Congo, the DRC is as huge, 3 times bigger than Europe. Therefore, traveling over DRC and administering such a chunk of land is a real problem. So I think the way we did to Yugoslavia, to me, it looks like with all these hiccups coming, Qatar coming in, wanting to give money and commercialize the process, another country will come in. You see, when you allow Qatar to put in money, Israel will come to put in money. Russians will come to put in money. Abu Dhabi, Dubai, United Arab Emirates will come. I'm telling you, we shall end up with Iran also coming in there. So where are we heading here? Egypt, you were there yourself, you criticized the chairman of Egypt, General Assisi of Egypt, was the chairperson of African Union. And Libya was divided by Egypt, United Arab Emirates, France. They divided and supported General Khalifa Haftar. So if we are not careful, the DRC Congo could go the same way. And therefore, for me, as an African and Africa Watch, my program, our programs will always be pointing out the mistakes, the pitfalls. People should not call us names. People should instead harness our experience that we have had in this war, in building peace in these countries, in the region. Instead of condemning us and calling us big names, bad names, and trying to undermine us, we have a contribution to make also. We have a contribution to make to the world. And we can make that contribution without any hindrance. We can make that contribution without even asking for money. Ours is to make a peaceful end. Pan-African Forum, UK Limited, is just to make a peaceful end, to give ideas, new, fresh narratives, impact, to assess dangers, what are the triggers, what could happen. We are not in to pick money. We are not interested in the money that people can get. But for us, ours is to give ideas, Miriam.
Mm-hmm. All right, and you've said you've called on the international community to come in and help because obviously we know there could be some financial strain from as it has been exhibited from the EAC in support of even the East African force, the force that is there in DRC. So what are these international bodies or international other institutions that perhaps you would suggest to come and support this conflict, which do not have an interest? Who are these people who don't have interest in the DRC and will be willing to come and support?
The AU would have no interest. If the AU put up the money, fine, it will come under one channel. But the African Union chairperson, Council, African Union Commission, has gone on a begging spree on behalf of Congolese, on behalf of Somalia, Amitis. Is it called what?
ATMIS, but that is because the 75% of AU's money does not even come from the continent, so we have to depend on those. So AU, as much as it will be a wonderful idea for AU to support this process, but AU can't afford it. It still has to come through. It will be channeled through AU, but from other countries. So is there a way of just keeping the external forces outside of DRC, whichever way we look at it?
Yes, there is. Many African countries like Nigeria, Kenya, they have money. They can station their troops there and pay their troops to fight in Congo. We can. Uganda, for example, has got a lot of troops fighting in Somalia. Uganda shelves part of the money that comes from the European Union, but also they pay their soldiers.
Did you see the recent report? Uganda hasn't paid.
They pay their soldiers to their soldiers.
From 2008.
So you can,
From 2018, Uganda hasn't paid even the money that is given by EU. They have not paid their soldiers there, so it is a problem as well.
But that is internal corruption, which has nothing to do with policy. The policy medium is straight that AU takes the responsibility of money collected and passes it over to the soldier. Now, whether the money has been paid in UK, in Uganda, in Kampala is a different thing. But we must straighten the funding process. Why peace processes in Africa collapse is because we don't have the money to support the peace process. Sudan, for example, you saw soldiers, some of them left the containment areas and they went back to their regions and they are causing havoc there. There are militias building up in South Sudan because we did not have a plan of where to get the money. That's why we are now falling victims to Qatar. And for me, even if we are poor, I wouldn't like Qatar to touch anything to do with DRC Congo. Because I know as a Ugandan, we are inviting death here. Yes. Yes. Have you asked yourself, Al-Shabaab goes to kill people? The uniforms look like the uniforms from where? Al-Shabaab wears the uniforms from where? How do they get these uniforms? There's somebody supplying them the uniforms. Tuambiane ukweli hapa, Miriam. So you want to bring a country like that near a complex situation of DRC? Allah, you no, you will find those. I am telling you, you will find those M23 well dressed, and they are marching on one of the capital cities, going to overthrow a government. I'm telling you, let's not go there. Me, I'm not happy. I'm not part of any government telling me to. I am an individual independently. I'm not governed by anybody who has paid me on a payroll. I speak my mind as an international activist who knows more about peace. You see?
Mm-hmm. And recently in Kenya, because we know even we were just staying with the issue of funding, We saw South Sudan set aside. I think we had that conversation here, and we really prosecuted that matter on this platform. South Sudan put aside about 9.6, I think, million US dollars to support its troops that are going to the Democratic Republic of Congo, and even recently in Kenya, in a recent address to the Kenyan Parliament, Defense Cabinet Secretary Aden Duale said that Kenya was to fund its contingent to the tune of 4.5 billion Kenya shillings, which is approximately 37 million US dollars in the first 6 months. So that is the commitment that Kenya has made. But at some point, as much as Kenya is the largest economy in the region and to some extent can afford to fund its venture in the DRC, but we must remember that also Kenya has it's a contingent in Somalia and others, so it still might need support of partners like the EU and the US and perhaps others who might be willing to come and not only support the Kenyan continent, but the rest of the countries that are willing to take their troops there. But just going back to a question, Doc, that something that you said there earlier, in the Democratic Republic of Congo, the MONUSCO, they're up to 18,000. 16,000 are combatant, those are the soldiers, and the rest 2,000 are doctors, drivers, and these others, the staff that support the mission there. So if these 16,000 troops have not been able to make any difference in the Democratic Republic of Congo, what will the East African Community Force be able to do?
Miriam, you talk of MONUSCO. MONUSCO is just a milking a cow. Is a cow for UN. Those soldiers just go there to carry diamonds and gold and go and build their houses. You see? There's nothing that we can say more than that. They cannot defend any single capital, even a smaller township. So what's the use of them sitting there? Why can't we change that money? And that's why Kabila has gone to bring his own mercenaries, the Wagner group of Russians. Then that's it.
Mm-hmm. And could that be the reason why perhaps there's not been any results even after the first contingent of the EAC force went into DRC in November? Because at the end of the day, they're still coordinating and working with MONUSCO, and I think MONUSCO has an upper hand, being that it is a UN peacekeeping mission. So the EAC and MONUSCO, they are cooperating. So could that be the reason why? Because if there is a conflict of interest and the mandate of the EAC, because initially, from what we heard, the EAC force was supposed to go head on and fight M23, but we've not seen that happen. At least that is what we were made to understand, that EAC was going to take a different approach as far as this conflict is concerned, compared to the peacekeeping mission of MONUSCO that has been doing in the country for over the last many years. So perhaps, being that the EAC is still working and maybe still under MONUSCO, is that why we are not getting any maybe favorable reports of what they're doing and the achievements that we were hoping they would have made by now from that region?
Miriam, don't you see that the question, I said it very nicely. We said it that we are hurtling towards Libya style. Is there no UN in Libya? There is. Mm-hmm. They back the which government?
The UN.
They back the government of Tripoli. Mm-hmm. You get the point? Now, France is a permanent member of the United Nations Security Council. Mm-hmm. What does it do? It backs the government in Benghazi, a renegade general Khalifa Haftar. With Egypt, too many troops. They are busy training rebels to go and overthrow the government in Chad. Now, look at those operations. Would you like to bring another Qatar, Messi, Egypt, UAE, Middle East down here? No. So what I'm saying is this. It is not very good for us to have anything. Look, just give it a matter of month. If it is not resolved the Kenyatta way, the Kenya way, as the government of Kenya spearheading via its envoy of the East African community, that is, as far as that one is concerned, is in safe hands. But when we add on another third party, insurance, coming under the camouflage of money, yet in the actual sense, if it was money, then why did Tshisekedi not come? Who told Tshisekedi not to go? He must have gathered information that something is not very right. So look at that confusion. It's going towards the Libyan style. That's how we confuse the Libya. The people are drawing it. They're drawing oil. The French are actually taking enough oil that can last them for 200 years. If Libya was something which can fall in the ocean, by now it would have collapsed. But the amount of oil that has been taken illegally there, Miriam, is huge. Therefore, I submit that the conflict in DRC Congo is similar, is hurtling towards the Libyan type of conflict. Have your say. Continue having your say. And I don't know whether I had your question properly, whether I answered it, but rephrase it again. I might have missed something. There's something I've missed there.
No, you have. That is in line with the what is it that the EAC can do there, that the 16 or rather 18,000 US troops, UN troops have not been able to do, 16,000 being the boots on the ground and the others are staff supporting that mission there. They've not been able to achieve that. And I think just going back to the conversation we were having here on Friday, one of the submissions that our panelist gave from Uganda, Innocent, and what he said was that maybe one side, now I think as we have this conversation, we can draw parallels with what he was saying. One side wants to really support the status quo. And if you look at it and interrogate this very, very slowly, and you look at the facts, because why would you have a whole 16,000 army in a country, and you still have people being killed, and you still have rebel groups forming, and now there are so many of them there? Why are you there? And if the mandate was not working to support the government of DRC and to protect the people, why haven't the UN changed the mandate of this mission in the Democratic Republic of Congo for it to be effective? And the East African Community Forces, what is their mandate? Are they doing the same thing? Have they gone there for peace building and peacekeeping as well? Or what was supposed to be their mandate that was different from MONUSCO? And what perhaps they need to tell us maybe over 3 months later, what have they been able to achieve so far, and what are the challenges? Because we really need to know if this much amount of money, now I'm learning that taxpayers in the country will be coughing up to 4.5 billion Kenya shillings in about 6 months to support the Kenyan mission there, South Sudan as well, Ugandan government as well. So I think we need to know what these forces are doing, what the East African forces is doing in the DRC, and how much it's been able to achieve so far.
Miriam, the bottom line of it. You said from 2018, Ugandan troops have never received a coin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, from when it was AMISOM.
People have come into this with different motives. My sister, some people want to steal money. Some people want to buy houses, apartments. Some want to open up more businesses. Some want to bank the money, buy banks. So many things. People are interested in human beings. But at the end, look at the Libya. You think AU itself, at the center of all this, I want you to look at the AAU, AUC, African Union Commission. It is the guy who goes to Qatar that tells them, I want you to help to support the peace process in Congo. It's not the individual countries that have gone there. Qatar came into existence after being contacted by the African Union. That's why when anybody talks about African Union and proposes my name anywhere, Mr. Muhammad Faki will stand up until he wants to jump on the table. Because I follow all what he does, the crookedness. He has made our organization go down. He has actually reduced our organization into a begging ball of gonya gonya, give me something, instead of him directing the direction of all these negotiations. He makes them very complicated. He actually sings Africa every day, every morning. Miriam, back to you in the studios.
Okay. That information about Ugandan troops not being paid has has caught you off guard there, because there are questions of accountability. They had not been paid for 27 months, spread across 5 years, despite the European Union, the mission's biggest funder, regularly dispersing funds to cover the allowances of these 5,000 peacekeepers serving in the country. So Ugandan forces had not received their pay. There are about 1,500 soldiers, and they had not received their pay, others dating back from 2018, others 2019, others 2020. So yeah, but the EU said, it gave the money, and I think the money was channeled towards the people who are supposed to pay in African Union and the individual countries, but these soldiers had not received their pay. So if that is the case, then we have a very demoralized military there, and they're putting their lives on the line, and you're still taking their money.
Miriam, that's why we have the same problem in Somalia. People know exactly. You see, in Somalia, we know who supports Al-Shabaab. It's not a secret. People know who supports Shabaab. Some of the leaders of Al-Shabaab are actually in Mogadishu. They are well known. But nobody wants to. In any case, we dining with, people are dining with them. These are the guys who support Al-Shabaab. That's why we have terror alerts coming. There's another one that has come now. We don't know where to go. You can't buy your things in the supermarket properly. So many of these terror attacks, they know. People know exactly. They know where these guys get the uniform. Al-Shabaab is having a better uniform than a regular soldier of Uganda that you have taken to Mogadishu. How will he be able to guard the place? Miriam. And we have very good arms. But the whole thing needs rearrangement, management, and the heads of state are going to Addis Ababa this week. We shall try to write our position papers, submit them to them. It is up to them to try to see. You see?
Okay. So I think the underlying factor, Doc, in both conflicts that we have established this afternoon is one, external actors, and two, proxy wars. Both of these conflicts, or these two countries, they all have this as a main characteristics. External actors and the proxy wars that we'll see, or we are seeing at play in DRC and in Libya, and there seem to be almost the same actors in this conflict.
It's a proxy war. It's a proxy war, Miriam. You are correct. They are proxy wars. And that they are not our wars. There's someone who wants to buy the new mineral, what is it called? The one that makes batteries. There's a new raw material that Zimbabwe banned from being exported outside. Lithium, yes. It's called lithium, cobalt, platinum, coltan. These minerals are needed, and the holding ground, a country that holds everything for US, is called Doha, Qatar. That's why they hosted a international football bonanza, but so many people died while building those stadiums. Nobody was compensated. If it was another country in Africa, we'd have put sanctions on them. So what do I do? What do I say here? That's what I'm saying. Miriam, I think we have done our best. It's 15:28 East African Standard Time, which is 12:28 London time. Thank you very much. I hand back to you for final announcements or whatever. Tomorrow we shall have a show. Before I hand it back the mic to you, we shall have a show. We have changed this show because of due to high demand. Is the Valentine's Day. The question on the Twitter space is the Valentine's Day a new concept to Africans? It's a social discussion in one of the programs at night at 8 o'clock. Is the Valentine's Day a new perception, or a new concept? It's a new concept to an African. We carry flowers, we buy flowers, we decorate our buildings, we've read our cars. Restaurants are hyped, the prices are so expensive. So, my dear, is it a new concept for Africans? Haven't we been having, do we have these days? Do we know the days? Is it only copy and a paste? Are we copying something which is not worth it? Thank you very much. God bless you. And God back to you in Nairobi, Kenya. From me, my side, that is it. Back to you, Miriam, in Nairobi. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you here tomorrow, God willing. Bye-bye.
Rivers do not drink their own water. Trees do not eat their own fruit. The sun does not shine on itself, and flowers do not spread their fragrance for themselves. Living for others is a rule of nature. We are all born to help each other. No matter how difficult it is. Life is good when you are happy, but much better when others are happy because of you.